As we speak it, I see it. It is live. It is cool. You are with the world finest when it comes to this game of streaming. Me and Big Dog Tez is out here getting ready to deliver you guys the sauce on some stuff you ain't never seen before on a podcast because we always speak take it. care I of see you. it. You know what I'm saying? Doing that
live.
quick sound check real quick. Everything's looking good. Yo, Tez, dog, let them know what's really happening.
Yes, sir. We're out here bringing you another session from the 5-Star Studio. We're updating the studio every day, making the shit the best possible studio that we can, and just making it lit and just lively out here. The 5-Star family is elevating, ascending, and reaching new heights like we've never done before. So we out here making it happen. Gonna bring you guys some fire today, some heat. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you want to see on future shows, future episodes in the future. We're always innovating and coming up with new ways to keep you guys entertained and keep adding value. So we're going to keep making this shit happen as much as we possibly can to bring value, bring entertainment, and just bring a new way of thinking from the 5-Star family. Let's get it.
Yo, big facts, right? So me and Tez have been out here giving you guys sauce and game on how to update your life on every conceivable level. But as per the Epstein files and many other things that have come to light in recent days, I'm sure that you guys are no stranger to how the food industry has literally been doing everything that it can to poison you, to kill you. It's very easy to see. It's very recognizable. I mean, have you ever seen like TikToks of people like going into the grocery store and there's like a ear or like a human ear or something in like the ground beef, or like you can put like a magnet on a chicken meat and like the magnet will stick to the meat because it's magnetized. You ever seen any of those things? Well, in general, one of the first podcasts that me and Tez did out here on the actual balcony of 5-Star is I literally was talking to you guys about how the food industry is just savage and it's killing us, and a lot of you guys responded very well to that. And in light of that, today we prepared a very good like podcast for you guys to give you some sauce and some tips on how to achieve sustainability from your own hands with your own backyard, and put yourself in a perpetual state of food that you don't need to go to the grocery store all the time and waste your money on. That being said, I'm going to pass it over to Tez to talk about, you know what I'm saying, our interpretation of food, and then we're going to walk through you guys through a video here. But how do you feel about food in the USA today, bruv?
I love food. And, I mean, it all comes back to money. Like I said before on the show, money is the root of all evil. So a lot of times, like, even if you think you're buying healthy food, you're not, because they have to. I look at it like cocaine. Drug dealers will hit the coke with fucking baking soda or throw some extra salt, sugar, whatever, try to stretch the fuck out of the cocaine so they can get more of it and get more for the amount. So if they have like 5 grams of just raw cocaine, they'll hit that shit, mix it up with something, make it 10 grams, but 5 grams of it is just bullshit. But they'll stretch it out, sell it to you as if it was full cocaine. That's the same thing that's happening in the world today. So they can have enough ingredients or enough food to sell to everyone. They're just hitting it, re-rocking that shit with extra bullshit just to stretch it out so they can have enough to sell people. Because if they made food 100% pure, 100% natural, none of that processed shit, there just wouldn't be enough to go around. So we, of course, live in a capitalistic society. So in order for them to stretch all this food out and be able to feed everyone so they can make money and so they can feed everyone, they have to hit it with a lot of bullshit, re-rock this food, throw some bullshit in it so they can stretch this food out as if it's work or coke or something. That way so they can sell it to everyone. So the reality is 9 times out of 10, you're going to be eating bullshit.
Big facts. And a big part of this is war. You know, with America, we have one of the strongest amendments ever. Or two, freedom of speech and the right to bear arms, right? And with the right to bear arms, the fact that we have guns in America is something that other governments and countries hate because the American people will bust back, right? So we have a first line of defense, the military, second line of defense, the people, the men, right? Unless you want girls out here shooting, that'd be interesting. You know, some of you girls could do it, but like, you know, the men are going to be protecting you out here as per 5-Star. And one of the biggest strategies that these companies are doing to get behind the fact that we have guns is they're saying, you know, they got guns, screw that. Let's kill the gun user through a medium called food. Let's just play the long game instead of like them, you know, coming out here and busting back. It doesn't matter if a bunch of fatties are busting back. And what is one of the #1 nations for obesity in the world? America. Another thing we could talk about is something called blue regions. I believe that there's these regions called blue regions, right? Something along those lines. And a blue region, or a blue whatever it's called, is a area on the earth where people live to about 120 years old from the food of the earth, and westernization and modernization hasn't hit their location in any way. And funny enough, when you start tracing blue areas and finding these places, these are the places where all over the earth they will open a McDonald's, they'll open a Chick-fil-A, they'll open like fast food in that area to start killing out the younger generations, and it works. So your liveliness in general, is being attacked because bad food, bad quality ingredients will make you suffer in the long term. One of the things that I've seen Canadian bodybuilders say is that in Canada the food is great, and he travels the world sometimes for diet and fitness vlogs, and he'll show you that when he goes to Greece he's eating the healthiest food ever, and when he wants the worst food ever for his vlog, that Canadian will come over to America and eat American food. And from his experience, what he'll say is that he feels like, you know, like it's like he ate it and he still feels hungry after, and that feeling of hunger after is weird to him. And his description of the food is that the food is so low quality that it goes right through you and you still feel the need for hunger because the food lacks nourishment, and that is one of the biggest problems in America. And me and Tez have prepared a video for you guys today that solves that problem. How do you guys feel about that, man? Yeah, yo, chat, where you at, bruv?
How does who, nigga? How does who?
Chat, where you at, bruv?
We out here. Let's fucking get it, man.
The facts. That being said, anything you want to add on before we play the video here?
All right, let's get right into it.
All right, so let's get right into it. We're going to do the technical side of this. I'm going to play it so me and Tez can hear it and you guys can hear it at the same time. Boom, zoomed in. You see it on the middle of the screen. Let's get this thing popping now.
In 475 BC, a Chinese fish farmer named Fan Li wrote something that would change how civilizations fed themselves for the next 2,000 years. His treatise, for the next 2,000 years, described a method so efficient that a single installation could produce more protein per square foot than cattle ranching, more nutrition per acre than any industrial farm. And once you built it, it would feed your family for decades, without buying feed, without permits, without depending on anyone, without permits. Fan Li's method survived wars, dynasties, and empires because the knowledge was too valuable to lose. But in America, most people have never heard of backyard pond. Even though it has fed more humans throughout history than any other protein system on Earth. That silence is not accidental. Today we are building Fan Li's regenerative ecosystem in your backyard. By the time you finish, you will have a self-replicating protein factory that feeds itself, manages itself, and produces more food than your family can consume. And in 10 years, when your neighbors are worried about food prices and supply chains, you will walk out to your pond and feel a calm that no amount of money can buy. But first, you need to understand what happened to this knowledge. Around 3,500 BC, during the Neolithic period along China's Yellow River, farmers noticed something after seasonal floods receded. Fish, specifically carp, were trapped in low-lying areas. If they dug those depressions a little deeper and reinforced the edges with clay, the fish stayed, they thrived, they reproduced, and they could be harvested whenever food was needed. This was not farming yet, this was observation, partnering with what the land already wanted to do. By the Shang Dynasty, around 1600 BC, oracle bone inscriptions reference fishing in the garden, which archaeologists now recognize as managed fish ponds integrated into agricultural plots. The wealthy kept ornamental ponds with golden koi. Peasants maintained working ponds with common carp. Both systems fed people, but only one required permission from authorities. Then, during the Tang Dynasty in the 7th century AD, something unexpected happened that revolutionized aquaculture forever. that revolutionized agriculture. The emperor's family name was Li, the same name as the common carp, Li Yu, the same name as the common carp, or perhaps superstition. The emperor banned the farming of common carp across the entire empire.
The emperor banned the farming of common carp across the entire empire.
Carp had been their primary protein source for over 1,000 years.
Carp had been their primary protein source for over 1,000 years.
They innovated.
But instead
of starving, multiple species in the same pond.
They began raising multiple
species that fed on
in the same
sediments.
pond.
Silver carp that filtered algae in the middle water column.
Silver carp that filtered algae in the middle water column. Grass carp that consumed plants at the surface.
Each species occupied a different ecological niche.
Each species occupied a different ecological niche.
Just a stacked,
competition,
self-regulating ecosystem that was more productive than anything that had come before.
That was more productive than anything that had come before.
This accidental policy created the world's...
Do you want to know where to invest $1,000 right now? Goldman Sachs says that Elon Musk's new AI breakthrough, Rigor, an unprecedented market opportunity. NVIDIA's seeing
first true polyculture system. By the time European travelers were documenting Chinese innovations in the 1200s, village fish ponds had become so common that chroniclers described them as a defining feature of the landscape.
Fish ponds had become so
Some
common
of these ponds
that
were centuries
chroniclers
old,
described them
still
as
producing thousands of pounds of protein every year.
Some of these ponds were centuries old,
the ponds
still
fed
producing
themselves.
thousands of pounds of protein every
that closed
year.
loop ecosystem,
and nobody was adding
the one
feed.
Fan Li documented in his treatise, and the Tang dynasty
that
perfected
closed
through
loop
necessity,
ecosystem
never made it to America
documented
in
his
any
treatise,
meaningful way.
And the Tang dynasty
when European
perfected through
settlers
necessity,
arrived, they brought
never
cattle,
made it to
pigs,
America
and chickens,
in any meaningful
animals
way.
that required constant
when
feeding,
European settlers
fencing,
arrived,
and
they
labor.
brought cattle, pigs, and
the idea
chickens,
of an edible
animals
pond that managed
required
itself
constant
seemed
feeding,
too simple,
fencing,
almost
and
primitive.
labor.
But it was not
the idea
primitive.
of an edible
it was
pond
elegant
that managed
biological
seemed
engineering.
too simple, almost primitive.
By the time the 20th
but it was
century
not
arrived,
primitive. It was
backyard
elegant
ponds in America
biological
were considered
engineering.
decorative, not functional.
By the time the 20th century
Koi ponds
arrived,
for the wealthy,
backyard ponds in America
ornamental
were considered
fountains,
decorative,
nothing
not
that
functional.
actually fed anyone.
Koi ponds
the knowledge
for the
had
wealthy,
been buried.
Ornamental fountains.
But in the 1960s,
nothing that actually
during early
fed
concerns
anyone.
about food security,
the knowledge had been buried.
A few researchers remembered.
But in the 1960s,
at Auburn University
during
in
early
Alabama,
concerns about food
fishery
security,
scientists led by
a few
H.S.
researchers
Swingle
remembered.
began studying
At
those
Auburn
old
University
Chinese
in
methods.
Alabama,
They built
fishery
test
scientists
ponds,
led
some
by
as small
H.S.
as 1,000
Swingle
square feet,
began studying
about
those
the size
old
of a
Chinese
modest
methods.
above-ground pool.
They built test ponds,
They stocked them with
some as
native
small as
species
1,000
like channel
square
catfish
feet,
and
about the
bluegill,
size of a modest
using
above-ground
techniques
pool.
borrowed from ancient
They stocked them
polyculture
with
systems.
native species like channel
The results
catfish
were
and bluegill,
undeniable.
using techniques borrowed
Auburn
from ancient
researchers
polyculture
documented
systems.
yields of up to
The results
350
were
pounds of fish
undeniable.
from ponds of just
Auburn
1,000 square
researchers
feet
documented yields
when
of
managed
up
with
to
basic
350
fertilization.
pounds of fish from
To put
ponds
that
of
in
just
perspective,
1,000 square feet.
a quarter acre of
when
cattle
managed with
pasture
basic
produces
fertilization.
about 200 pounds of beef
To
per
put
year
that in perspective,
and requires
a
constant
quarter
feeding,
acre of cattle
veterinary
pasture
care,
produces
and
about
infrastructure.
200 pounds of beef per year.
These small
and
ponds
requires
produce nearly
constant
double
feeding,
the protein,
veterinary care,
using a tenth
and
of the space
infrastructure.
with almost zero inputs.
These small ponds produce nearly
studies
double
were
the
published,
protein,
cited
using
by
a
a
tenth
handful
of
of
the space
permaculture
with almost
enthusiasts,
zero inputs.
and then the momentum stopped.
The studies were
No
published,
government subsidies,
cited by a handful of
no
permaculture
extension office
enthusiasts,
programs,
and then the
no
momentum
agricultural
stopped.
colleges
No
teaching
government
it at
subsidies.
scale.
No
Because the
extension
moment you
office
install
programs.
a productive pond in
No
your backyard,
agricultural colleges
you stop buying
teaching
meat
it at
from
scale.
the industrial system.
Because the moment you
and
install
the industrial
a
meat
productive pond
system
in your backyard,
America,
you
valued
stop
at
buying meat
$200
from the
billion
industrial system.
annually,
And
has
the
no
industrial meat
incentive
system
to
in
promote
America,
backyard protein
valued at
production.
$200 billion
But
annually,
the knowledge survived,
has no
the same way it
incentive to
survived the
promote
Cultural Revolution in
backyard
China,
protein
the
production.
same way it survived the fall of
But
Rome.
the knowledge survived.
Because
the
once you
same way
understand
it
the
survived
biology,
the Cultural Revolution in China,
the
the same way it
ecosystem
survived
builds
the fall
itself.
of Rome. Because
Here is
once
how
you
it
understand
works.
the biology,
The pond is not just fish.
the ecosystem
The fish are
builds
only
itself.
one piece of a four-part
Here is how it works.
living system.
The pond is not just fish.
First, you have the
the
ducks.
fish are only one piece
In
of
traditional
a four-part
Chinese polyculture,
living
waterfowl
system.
were always integrated.
First, you have the
Ducks are not just
In
livestock.
traditional Chinese
They are the
polyculture,
biological managers
waterfowl
of your
were always
pond.
integrated.
When ducks swim,
Ducks are
they
not
stir
just
up bottom
livestock.
sediments,
They are the
releasing
biological
nutrients into
managers
the water
of your
column.
pond.
When ducks swim, they stir up bottom
sediments.
They are adding nitrogen directly into
column.
the ecosystem.
When they defecate,
that nitrogen
and they
feeds
do constantly,
algae.
they are adding
the
nitrogen
feeds
directly
zooplankton.
into the
zooplankton
ecosystem.
feeds small fish.
That nitrogen
the
feeds
small fish feed larger
algae.
fish.
The
and
algae
the ducks
feeds
eat
zooplankton.
insects,
The
aquatic
zooplankton
plants,
feeds small fish.
and occasionally small
the
fish.
small fish feed larger
fish. It is a
fish.
closed loop,
and the ducks
where
eat
every
insects,
action feeds
aquatic
something
plants,
else.
and
a
occasionally
small flock of
small
3
fish.
to 5 ducks will also
It is a closed
give you
loop
eggs.
where
Khaki Campbell
every action
ducks,
feeds
one of the most
something else.
productive breeds,
A small flock
lay
of
between
3 to 5 ducks will
280
also give
and
you
340
Khaki Campbell
eggs per year
ducks,
per duck.
one of the most productive
that is
breeds,
840
lay
to
between
1,700 eggs annually
and 340
from a tiny
eggs
flock.
per year per duck.
Research shows that ducks with access to pond
1,700 eggs
ecosystems
annually
can forage
from a
up to
tiny flock.
30% of their nutritional
Research
needs
shows that
from
ducks
insects,
with access to pond
aquatic
ecosystems
plants, and small
can forage
organisms,
up to 30% of their
drastically
nutritional
cutting your
needs
feed costs.
from insects,
You are
aquatic
stacking
plants,
functions.
and small
The
organisms,
ducks fertilize the water.
drastically cutting your
the pond
feed
feeds
costs.
the ducks. The fish
You are
clean up
stacking
excess
functions.
nutrients.
The
the
ducks
plants
fertilize
filter what
the
is
water.
left, and
The
you
pond
simply
feeds the
harvest
ducks.
the surplus.
The fish clean up excess
Second,
nutrients.
you have the plants.
The plants filter
Aquatic
what is left.
vegetation is not
and you
decoration.
simply harvest the
It is
surplus.
the kidneys and lungs
Second,
of your
you have the
permaculture
plants.
pond.
Aquatic vegetation
Cattails are
is
one
not
of the most
decoration.
efficient
It is
biological
the
filters
kidneys
on
and
Earth.
lungs of your permaculture
Their roots
pond.
pull excess nitrogen
Cattails
and
are one
phosphorus
of the
out
most
of the water,
efficient biological
preventing
filters
algae
on Earth.
blooms and keeping
Their
the
roots pull
ecosystem
excess
balanced.
nitrogen and
A
phosphorus
ring of
out of the
cattails
water,
around your pond's
preventing
shallow
algae
edges
blooms
will do
and
more
keeping
for
the
water quality
ecosystem balanced.
than any expensive
A ring of
mechanical
cattails
filter.
around your pond, which
Cornwall
lowers
and
water temperature
anacaris
and
release
reduces
oxygen during the
evaporation
day,
in summer.
critical for fish
Submerged
health.
plants like
Floating
hornwort
plants
and
like water
anacaris
lettuce and
release
duckweed
oxygen during the
absorb
day,
nutrients so
critical
efficiently
for fish health.
that wastewater
Floating
treatment
plants
facilities
like water
use
lettuce
them.
and duckweed
Duckweed
absorb
in
nutrients
particular
so
is
efficiently
remarkable.
that
Under
wastewater
optimal conditions,
treatment
it doubles
facilities
its biomass
use them.
in less than 48
Duckweed
hours.
in particular
and ducks
is
will
remarkable.
eat it as fast as
Under
it grows.
optimal conditions,
creating
it
a
doubles its
self-renewing
biomass
in
food
less than
source that
48
costs you.
hours. And ducks will eat it as fast as it grows, creating a self-renewing food source that costs you.
The Mediterranean diet is the world's healthiest diet, and Factor makes it easy to eat that way every day.
My daughter
A
is
true
being treated for
Mediterranean meal.
leukemia.
Thing. Research
I
into
hope that she
aquaponics,
lives a long-
which is essentially polyculture in a controlled environment, has shown that plants can remove up to 90% of the nitrogen waste produced by fish. The plants absorb the nitrates. The water stays clean. The fish stay healthy. You do almost nothing except observe. Third, you have the fish. For most of the United States, bluegill and channel catfish are the easiest and most legal options. Bluegill grow slower but require zero care. Stock them
Dude.
once and they
Four.
reproduce on their own, creating a self-replenishing food source. They reach harvestable size about 6 to 8 inches in roughly 2 years. Channel catfish grow faster, reaching 1 to 2 pounds within 18 months in a well-managed pond. Tilapia grow even faster and taste better. Under optimal conditions, they reach 1 pound in just 5 to 6 months. A small pond stocked with 50 tilapia fingerlings can yield 40 to 50 pounds of harvestable fish within a single growing season. However, tilapia are illegal in some states because they can become invasive in warm climates. Check your local regulations before purchasing. And fourth, you have beneficial bacteria. These invisible workers convert fish waste ammonia into nitrites, then into nitrates that plants absorb. This nitrogen cycle is the backbone of the entire ecosystem. Once it is established, it balances itself. You are not managing a farm, you are stewarding a living system. So how do you actually build this? And more importantly, what does it cost? Let me be specific. For a family-scale homestead protein system, you are looking at a total setup cost of around $400 to $600, depending on whether you dig by hand or rent equipment. That breaks down to roughly $150 to $300 for an EPDM rubber pond liner, $20 to $50 for fingerlings, $30 to $60 for ducklings, and $50 to $100 for plants and minor supplies. Compare that to a decade of buying meat at the grocery store, and you will see why this knowledge has been quietly suppressed. First, choose your location. You want a spot that gets at least 6 hours of sunlight daily, but not full sun all day, which would overheat the water. Choose the lowest point on your property where water naturally collects after rain. If you fight your land's natural contours, you will spend the next decade fighting erosion and drainage. Mark out your pond. For a family scale setup, you are looking at roughly 10 feet by 15 feet and 4 to 5 feet deep at the center. You can dig this by hand over a weekend or rent a small excavator for a few $100s and finish in an afternoon. Create a shallow shelf about 1 foot deep and 2 to 3 feet wide around the edges. This is your marsh zone where plants will root. The deeper center is where fish will refuge during hot or cold weather. If you have heavy clay soil, you can seal the pond the traditional way. Line it with 6 inches of wet clay, compact it by walking on it, and let it cure. This method has worked for thousands of years. If your soil is sandy or rocky, use an EPDM liner. They last 20 to 30 years and cost about $1 to $2 per square foot. Fill the pond with water. If you are using chlorinated municipal water, let it sit for 1 week so chlorine can evaporate. If you are using well water or rainwater, you can stock immediately. Now introduce life, but in stages. Start with the plants. Plant cattails and irises on the shallow shelves. Add submerged plants like hornwort in deeper sections. Float some water lettuce or duckweed on the surface. Let this sit for 2 to 4 weeks. The plants need time to root, and beneficial bacteria need time to colonize every surface of the pond. After a month, add your ducks. 2 to 5 is ideal for a small pond. They will take to the water immediately, and within days you will see the pond activate. The water will cloud slightly as ducks stir up the bottom. This is normal. This is the ecosystem waking up. After another month, introduce your fish. Stock about 50 fingerlings per 1,000 gallons of water. They will disappear into the depths, and you will not see them for weeks. Do not panic. Do not add more fish. They are there, growing in the cool, dark water. For the first 6 months, you do almost nothing. You watch the ducks. You check water clarity. You pull excess duckweed if it smothers the surface. You top off the water level during dry spells. That is it. No feeding schedules, no chemicals, no interference. The pond is finding its balance. By month 6, you will start to see flashes of silver. Your fish are visible now and growing fast. By the end of year 1, depending on species, you will have fish approaching harvestable size. The ducks will start laying eggs within 5 to 6 months. 3 ducks will give you around 700 to 900 eggs in their first year. That is roughly 60 to 75 eggs per month, more than most families can eat. And this regenerative system will keep running. Year 2.
This year, we opened 2 new restaurants while running, how many?
5 others.
5 other restaurants.
The fish reproduce on their own if you leave a breeding population. The ducks keep laying, the plants keep filtering. By year 3, you are not managing a project anymore. You are simply harvesting from a living ecosystem that has woven itself into your land. Now let me address something most backyard pond guides ignore. Winter. If you live in a northern climate where ponds freeze, your fish can survive under the ice as long as you maintain a small opening for gas exchange. A simple pond icer, which costs about $40, will keep a small hole open all winter. Bluegill and catfish enter a dormant state in cold water and survive under ice for months. Tilapia, however, cannot tolerate water below 50 degrees Fahrenheit and must be harvested before winter or brought indoors. Ducks are cold hardy and will continue laying through winter if given shelter from wind. A simple 3-sided coop with straw bedding is all they need. One more thing most guides will not tell you. In most states, ponds under 1 acre do not require permits or government approval. You are simply collecting rainwater and managing it on your own property. However, regulations on fish species vary. Tilapia are banned in cold states because they could theoretically establish wild populations. Catfish and bluegill are legal nearly everywhere. Check your state's fish and game website before purchasing fingerlings. But in most cases, you do not need to ask anyone's permission to build this. This is what Fanli understood 2,500 years ago. This is what the industrial food system has spent a century trying to make you forget. You do not need their supply chains. You do not need to depend on systems that can fail. You need water, sun, a hole in the ground, and the patience to let biology do what it has always done. 10 years from now, your neighbors will be anxious about food prices, about shortages, about instability. You will walk out to your edible pond, cast a line, pull a healthy fish, collect a basket of warm eggs, and feel something most people have forgotten. Sovereignty. Not the loud kind that announces itself, the quiet kind that does not need to. Because you have built something that cannot be taxed, regulated, or taken away. You have built independence. If this opens something for you, if you can see yourself standing by that pond 10 years from now, subscribe so you do not miss the next system we uncover. Share this with someone who is ready to stop asking permission. The knowledge is here. The choice is yours. The pond is waiting.
So that being said, because I have already seen this, I gotta get your raw reaction, big dog. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's really good. I look at that. That's really good for old people who have a lot of time on their hands. I know you said the first 6 months you don't have to do anything. You could just let it grow and let it be, and then they'll start getting to a size where you can start like actually using them for food. But yeah, it's good for old people and people with a lot of times on their hand. Like back in the day, people didn't have to worry about rent, all these bills, and pay all these taxes and have all this overhead. So now with building it and the upkeep and cleaning the food and everything, it takes a lot of time that you're gonna have. If you're a person that has bills, have shit that you have to pay for, you're gonna have to focus on that. So the goal is to be in a position where you can make a lot of money and be in a position where you could have the luxury to build that out and do that. And I mean, if you have a few hours on your hand and where you have the time, then make it happen, because it'll definitely save you money. But yeah.
Big facts, man. And like, in all honesty, there's a strategy behind how to do these things, right? And don't worry, I got another video here for you guys. It's gonna make it even more simple to get it in your life today, right? Or to start making change in your life today. But ultimately, like, if you look at the bills that you're going to be collecting from food, most people, when they go through their bank statements or when they go through their bank rolls, the things that their credit cards will say, or the things that they spend money on the most, is usually going to be food. And in the modern day, it's going to be like Uber Eats or DoorDash. I'm guilty of that as well. And it's going to be like service industry based foods, right? But in terms of ownership, living your life and dating, dog, I could build that shit, and in my life I've built things like that before, including pools and shit. And it's really a lot more simple than you think to just, if you are able to do the thing that they don't want you to do, own a home, right? If you're able to go get a home, if you're able to buy land, and then you put that pond in there as a guy, by the time that you're ready to date, let's say that 6 months that it's talking about goes by and you're buying normal food, you're getting normal bread, and you're collecting normal things in your house, and you're going about it for that time period. But now you get yourself a girl and you can get her to start managing that stuff. Have kids immediately, right? With assuming that the girl's been vetted. And then if you have kids and the kids are maintaining that self-maintained pond, this is where kids are a W. Get yourself the house, the kids, the wife, everything immediately in a situation like that. Because that is where you're going to find a lot of peace. That's where you're going to find a lot of sustainability. And that's where you're going to find probably a lot of good memories that you have in your own backyard, where a man could be a king of his own castle in his own home, right? So with a situation like that, if you're able to discern like, yo, listen, I don't really want to spend my money on senseless food. And if I can like, if you're able to kind of look at things from the sense of like, I am realizing everything's a scam. I'm realizing education is a scam. The food system is a scam. The way in which they use my time to pay me is a scam. Anything that you do to fight back is winning. In fact, shout out to Jake Shields, because I just found out that Jake Shields has a podcast called the Fight Back Podcast, and I like that because he is a fighter, and it's like fighting back, and that's what we wanted you guys to do. We want you to fight back against the system in every conceivable possible way. And if you are sitting on land, and you are sitting on ownership, and you are sitting on gold, and you got some guns and some bullets and food in the backyard, you are living the American dream. You've achieved what he was saying in the video, sovereignty. You've achieved sustainability. And because you don't have to worry about anything and you're in a state of peace, I would choose that life over every conceivable fucking bullshit life that you can imagine in your life right now, right? So if you want the fast life, the Lamborghini life, the city life, this is a bunch of scams. It's a bunch of bullshit. It's a bunch of hookup culture. It's all a fucking lie. You'd want something as close to a farm as humanly possible. Because if you did have a farm, right, you got to understand the richest people in America, farmers. The richest people that have everything, farmers, right? Farmers literally, if you know anything about farmers, especially like out in Texas, once they reach a certain power level in farming, they literally call the agricultural shots of what will and will not happen as per crops. So let's say that you had like 1 acre of land or 15 acres of land. It doesn't matter if you had 1 or 15, but if you had 1 acre of land or 15 acres of land and you started growing corn and you started selling corn to industries, the land is always providing you wealth. The land is always putting you in crops, and the crops are always selling, and there's always a need for animals to be there, right? In fact, I was with a guy named Griot that we know who's a friend of the podcast, and me and him went to a ranch for a client that he had, and I forget it's called like Love Ranch or something like that. Love Ranch. I have some I'll put the clips out there on our Instagram. Go check it out. And you see that this guy actually turned his land into not only something that was able to sustain crops, not only able for him to have like a pet monkey and his own house on the farm, but the land keeps giving him everything he needs. So he has a woman, he has crops, he has animals, a lot of animals. He has his own beehive, so he gets his own bees. He has all his own things, and he turned the rest of the land, which is a lot of land, into a wedding venue, so people could come there, book out the wedding venue, and constantly have like a wedding service for people to have an elaborate experience. So the land keeps bringing you wealth. You see what I'm saying here? So if you're stuck in a system where you're always paying rent, always paying mortgage, never own anything, you don't own the car, the government owns the car because it's all electric and stuff, that path that they're trying to put us on, that thing that seems like, oh, I get to live some sort of fast life and be sexy and always having sex and always in the dating field but never owning anything mentality, you got to break your mind out of that matrix immediately and plug yourself into some sustainability so you have wealth, so you have land, so you have ownership, because ownership creates the conduit by which you can do business that's going to create and generate income for you to achieve sustainability. Any thoughts on that before we move on to the next section here?
Oh, hell yeah, let's watch that video.
Big facts, Jack. So I'm going to play this and see if we can hear it. Now, this one is, okay, so most of us, not most of us, but like a lot of us might not have a backyard ready to go to start putting ducks and fish and all that in. But a lot of us have a kitchen, hopefully. Keep your girl in the kitchen. And this is a way for you, if you're a bodybuilder, to achieve protein immediately. And it's a good source of protein. So I'm going to play this. I know in the last clip it was doing a double thing, so we'll clip the videos from the point where I took that out and moved it forward. You're going to hear this in the background, and me and Tez are doing everything we can to bring you some 5-star quality, man. So bear with us. We do it live. Let's go.
Mason jar, 1 cup of lentils, and water. That is all it takes to start a protein factory that doubles in size every 18 hours. No farm, no animals, no expensive equipment. Just a jar on your kitchen counter, producing complete protein faster than any agricultural system on Earth. In 4 days, that 1 cup of 50-cent lentils becomes 6 cups of fresh sprouts containing more protein than a pound of beef, more bioavailable than any supplement, and packed with vitamins that appear out of nowhere as the seed comes alive. Captain James Cook used this method to keep his crew healthy on 3-year voyages in the 1760s. NASA studied it in the 1980s as the most efficient protein source for Mars
Fuck
missions.
NASA.
Universities have documented protein increases of 30% and vitamin C levels that jump 600% during sprouting. And yet, walk into any grocery store and you will find $50 tubs of protein powder, but not a single package of sprouting seeds labeled for what they actually do. Two things explain why this 5,000-year-old protein production method disappeared from American kitchens in just 50 years. One involves a food so efficient, it threatened the $200 billion protein supplement industry.
Make lunch with me while I tell you all the things
Yo,
I do
follow
not do
us
with my
on
money and why you might be struggling because of
Instagram.com/5star.
that. The first thing that shocks a lot of people for some
The other involves government agencies that convinced you sprouting at home was dangerous, while ignoring that every outbreak came from industrial facilities, not kitchen jars. By the end of this video, I will show you the exact 4-minute setup that turns seeds into infinite protein for less than any food in your refrigerator. But first, you need to understand what was hidden and why companies selling processed protein made sure you never learned to grow your own. If you have ever stood in a supplement aisle staring at protein powders with ingredient lists you cannot pronounce, wondering if there was a simpler way, you are about to discover something that changes everything. Because the solution is not better supplements. It is older food that grows itself in your kitchen while you sleep. Walk into any nutrition store and you will find protein powder for $15 to $40 per pound. Protein bars for $3 to $5 each. Ready-to-drink shakes for $4 per bottle. But here is the math they do not want you to see. 1 cup of dry lentils costs 50 cents. In 4 days, that cup becomes 6 cups of fresh sprouts containing 100 to 150 grams of complete protein. Equivalent protein from whey powder costs $8 to $12. From beef, $12 to $15. The markup is not 10% or 50%. It is 2,000%. And the product you are paying for is fundamentally inferior to what you can grow in a jar. Here is why. Protein powder is dead, extracted from milk or soy, heated, dried, and isolated. The enzymes are gone, the vitamins are gone. What remains is amino acids in a tub. Sprouts are alive. The protein is not extracted, it is created. As the seed germinates, enzymes convert stored starches into amino acids. The protein content increases. But more importantly, it becomes bioavailable, digestible, usable. Dry lentils contain 25% protein, but 60% is locked behind enzyme inhibitors and anti-nutrients like phytic acid. Your body cannot access it. When you sprout those lentils, enzyme inhibitors are destroyed. Phytic acid drops by 50 to 80%. Protein content rises to 30%, and bioavailability jumps to 85 or 90%. You are not just getting more protein, you are getting protein your body can actually use. The transformation goes beyond protein. Vitamin C increases by 600% during sprouting. B vitamins increase 200 to 500%. Vitamin K quadruples. These are not added. They are synthesized by the seed as it comes to life. You are harvesting it at the peak of that nutrient explosion. This process has been known for thousands of years. Sprouted grains appear in Egyptian tombs from 3,000 years before Christ. Ancient Chinese texts describe sprouting mung beans for health. Every traditional culture that relied on legumes knew how to sprout them. It was basic food preparation. In 1768, Captain James Cook set sail on the Endeavour for a 3-year Pacific voyage. Scurvy killed sailors by the dozens on long trips. But Cook brought barrels of dried beans. His crew sprouted them, producing fresh greens rich in vitamin C. Not a single man died of scurvy. The British Royal Navy took note. Sprouting became standard practice for the next century, saving thousands of lives. But by the mid-20th century, sprouting vanished from Western kitchens. In the 50s and 60s, processed foods exploded. Canned goods, frozen dinners, instant meals. Convenience became a priority. At the same time, cheap meat and milk flooded the market. Protein from animals became the default. Protein from plants, especially sprouts, was forgotten. Agricultural extension offices stopped mentioning sprouting. Cookbooks from the 30s and 40s include sprouting instructions. By the 70s, they were gone. Seed companies stopped labeling products for sprouting. The knowledge disappeared because no corporation could profit from it. Here is what makes sprouting a threat. You buy seeds once. They last 5 to 10 years. You use a jar you already own. You add tap water. 4 days later, fresh complete protein. No subscription, no branded product, no supply chain. Food independence in its purest form. And food independence does not generate quarterly earnings. The University of Minnesota published a study in 2012 comparing sprouted lentils to animal sources. Sprouted lentils scored 92 on the protein digestibility corrected amino acid score. Beef scored 92. Eggs scored 100. Sprouts were on par with the most complete protein sources in the human diet.
Caesar Milan, how to add years to your dog's life. Sardines.
9.
Bone broth.
10.
Raw egg.
But unlike beef or eggs, sprouts cost 50 cents per pound, required no refrigeration, and could be produced anywhere with zero energy. The Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry found in 2008 that sprouting increased antioxidant activity by 200%. The sprouts contain compounds that reduced inflammation and improved digestion. Naturally occurring compounds synthesized during germination. NASA noticed. In the 80s and 90s, planning long missions, they faced a problem. Freeze-dried food loses nutrition over time.
Don't believe anything NASA says.
Astronauts on a Mars mission would face malnutrition unless they could grow fresh food. NASA tested dozens of systems. The clear winner for protein was sprouting. 1 pound of dry lentils became 6 pounds of fresh sprouts. No soil, no grow lights initially, no complex systems, just seeds, water, and time. Sprouting became core to NASA's life support research. But while NASA validated sprouting as space food, the USDA quietly warned Americans to avoid it. In 2011, the agency issued guidelines suggesting sprouts pose food safety risks based on E. coli and salmonella outbreaks from commercial sprouting facilities. The outbreaks were real, but here is what the USDA never mentioned. Every outbreak came from commercial operations. Not one case was traced to home sprouting. Not one. The difference is scale. In commercial facilities, one contaminated seed infects entire batches. At home, you sprout 1 cup at a time in a clean jar, rinsing twice daily. The small scale and constant rinsing make contamination nearly impossible. But the USDA warning did not distinguish between industrial and home sprouting. Grocery stores pulled sprouts. Consumers stopped buying them. The knowledge nearly disappeared. Meanwhile, the protein supplement industry exploded. By 2020, the global market reached $200 billion. Whey, soy, pea protein, collagen powders. All marketed as essential. All processed, packaged, and sold at massive markups. The average American spends over $100 monthly on protein supplements, $1,200 yearly, for protein that costs pennies as sprouts. Here is what they do not want you to know. Most protein powders are incomplete proteins, missing key amino acids. Your body cannot use them efficiently. Sprouted lentils contain all 9 essential amino acids in ratios matching human needs. Complete protein, as complete as eggs or meat. But unlike animal protein, sprouts include fiber, antioxidants, and vitamins supporting digestion. Now here is the 4-minute setup. You need a wide-mouth mason jar, cheesecloth or mesh, and a rubber band. Total cost $3. You need seeds, lentils, mung beans, chickpeas, any whole raw legume. Avoid split or processed beans. Start with 1 cup of dry lentils. Rinse and place in the jar. Fill with water, covering by 2 inches. Cover with cheesecloth, secure with a rubber band. Soak overnight 8 to 12 hours. In the morning, drain through cheesecloth. Rinse with fresh water, drain again. Lay the jar on its side so lentils spread thin. Place in a dark cabinet or cover with a towel. Twice daily, rinse with fresh water and drain completely. This removes bacteria and keeps sprouts moist. After 2 days, tiny white tails emerge. After 3 to 4 days, tails are 1 to 2 inches long. Move the jar into indirect light for a few hours. Sprouts turn slightly green. By day 4 or 5, they are ready. Final rinse, drain, refrigerate. They last 7 to 10 days. That is the entire process. 4 minutes of work over 4 days. 1 cup becomes 6 cups of complete protein, 50 cents, equivalent to a pound of beef or 3 scoops of protein powder. Start a new batch every 2 days and you have continuous fresh sprouts. Infinite protein on your countertop. Sprouts are pre-digested. Enzymes break down complex starches and proteins. People who cannot digest beans often eat sprouts without issue. Gas and bloating from legumes come from enzyme inhibitors. Sprouting destroys them. A single mother in Portland switched from protein powder to sprouts. She spent $80 monthly on whey protein. She started sprouting lentils and chickpeas. Within a month, her protein bill dropped to $12. Fresher food, better digestion, and her sons preferred sprouts over shakes. She shared online and was flooded with messages from parents asking how to start. Urban preppers rediscovered sprouting during COVID-19. When supply chains broke and stores ran out of produce, sprouts became a lifeline. Dry lentils, shelf-stable for years, turned into fresh food in days. No electricity, no garden, no deliveries. Preppers stockpiled sprouting seeds. The realization was simple. Seeds equal food security, indefinitely. Sprouting is not just about protein. It is about control. Every jar you grow is protein powder you do not buy. Every batch is fresh vegetables you do not need shipped. Food production on the smallest scale, completely decentralized, impossible to monopolize. Seed companies can sell seeds, but cannot patent sprouting. Supplement companies cannot compete with 50-cent protein. The industrial food system depends on your dependence. Sprouting is independence. The protein factory in your cupboard, labeled as soup beans or garden seeds, is the same technology that kept sailors alive in the 1700s. The same system NASA validated for space. The same method that produced nutrition for 5,000 years before the food industry called it obsolete. It was never obsolete, just unprofitable for them. For you, it is the most efficient protein source on Earth. Doubling every 18 hours, growing in a jar, costing pennies, waiting for you to remember what your ancestors never forgot. If this changes how you think about food, hit subscribe for more knowledge the industry buried. The seeds are waiting, and they remember how to grow.
Before we, or since I've already seen that, give me your synopsis, Big G.
Yeah, it's what I was saying earlier. They're putting shit in food to stretch it out, to make it less healthy. And so they could have more of it and you can pay more of it, when a lot of it you can source yourself. I don't source food like this or eat healthy like this, but it's a good way to go about it. I definitely see it.
Yeah, so what this comes down to is, like I was saying with the last video, it comes down to ownership, right? If you think about it, like, I really want you to jump into your most like businessman mentality right here, right? Maybe if someone like Patrick Bet-David was speaking to you, or someone of some higher echelon tier is speaking to you and says, well, let's think about this. Let's look at all of your bill statements and all of your bank statements and see how much money you spent on food at grocery stores or at restaurants or anywhere over the last 10 years, and really look at how much money that you spent on that and compare it to how much money you'd save if you never spent that. You would have a small fortune because you solved one part of the formula of sustainability. Ownership is not something that you are taught as a kid here in America. It is something that is forgotten, making you dumber by the second. But once you do own things, and once you do own the process by which you create food in this system, you would literally see yourself having a return on investment immediately, like an immediate ROI, right? So in my personal life, mark my words, you'll see me start achieving this sustainability through mason jars, because that is something I want to do. But in a whole other sense, the reason that I was showing you guys this today is because I wanted you guys to start achieving sustainability in your own food sources. All right, here, hold on, let me mute that real quick.
Oh,
yeah, I want you to achieve sustainability in your own food sources, because every time that you fight back against the system, you're saving yourself, because the system is only a resource extractor, like a bad woman, right? So that's the relationship we're in with our food company. That's the relationship that we're in with our government. They make you, like, for example, there's a guy named do you know the guy Cali Muscle, right? Cali Muscle, man, he comes out here, he says all the macronutrients you've ever learned, it's just for bodybuilding shows. All the stuff that you know about protein and all the stuff that they're telling you about protein shakes, protein bars, all BS. All I do is eat straight watermelon and I'm buff AF, right? So I don't know everything about his method, but like, he's using this method and he's basically boiling down to food of earth makes you fine. You combine exercise and workout with the food of earth, you can be as big as you want, right? So we are trained to abandon gardens. We're trained to not think that owning a horse and owning a land is a normal thing. We're trained to think like fast cars and big restaurant bills and protein shakes and all the stuff that's in powder form that is, like the video is saying, is dead, is going to provide some sort of value to you, whereas you can literally buy a little case of seeds on Amazon that will last you for 10 years, right? So if you think about that, of course you're going to want to combine this food with other things, right? You're not going to eat just the seeds, but the point is that formulaically you're achieving ownership. And as for the men out here in the world, I know most of y'all boys are super easy to please. Once you got yourself locked in a little system, you're going to be super happy, right? And what I really want you to achieve is, like we're saying, sustainability. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years of saving money in food bills. I don't know any other podcasts talking about that. I've never seen anyone talk about this stuff. I've never seen people put this information out onto you. But if I bring this information to older people, they're familiar with it. They used to do it. The world has been brainwashed in such a way where you stay away from these practices. But I know that there's someone out there that's going to watch this, going to see that and say, oh, this reminds me of what those people are doing by growing gardens in their windows or on their balconies or in their apartments. In fact, I can only think of one girl that I know out in Weston who's completely like retrofitted her house into like an interior and exterior garden, because that chick is... she's a little bit of a crazy liberal who is like all in on some like plant life, right? On the outside looks crazy with all her cats and all that stuff, but on the inside, moving towards the right steps in sustainability. But that's a woman. I'm talking to y'all guys out here. You got to achieve the system by which you will literally secure yourself with a sustainable growth system for food that's going to give you all the nutrients you need. So I would argue if you put one bodybuilder and another two bodybuilders next to each other side by side, and you were given one all whey protein and the other one all the organic bean sprouts that we saw there, the guy with the sprouts is going to have a much healthier quality of living because they're showing you're getting not only protein, but you're getting vitamin substances from the earth the way God intended it to be. So clearly, you combine that with exercising, and you're probably going to be in a much better path, and you saved a bunch of money because protein, all of it, like if you ever knew anyone that worked at a GNC, if you ever knew anybody that worked in one of these protein supplement industries, they know it's a BS industry. They tell you it's a BS industry, and you thinking that you have to do that to achieve what you're doing is a scam in the most simple sense. And I'm not saying there's not some good supplements out there, and I'm not saying there's not good protein bars out there, but in general, the overarching industry, they're showing you it's a $200 billion industry that requires on scamming you into a belief system in by which the same scam of you getting down on your knees and handing a girl a diamond ring, which is 2 paychecks out of your job to live a life of like foreverness with you, is also another marketing scam. You have to understand that America is built on a bunch of marketing and a bunch of misconception and a bunch of BS to scam you, and the more that you are unaware of that, you're in the blue pill. The more you are aware of it, you're in the red pill, right? Breakfast, completely made up. Humans were eating two meals a day, lunch, dinner, no breakfast, right? Marketing, marriage, marketing, the whey protein, the way that you know it, complete marketing. So, have ownership. We want you to be number one, best in the class.
Oh yeah, and I'll say this: I'd say instead of using the word scam, I'd say you're being exploited by the system. Like they're exploiting you. And that's just business in general. Any company that buys a shirt for $3 that it costs $3 to make and they sell it to you for $20, they're exploiting you for a profit. They're making a profit off of you. So either way it goes, in America, you're gonna get exploited some way or another if you work by paying taxes, by just living everyday life. The system's going to exploit you in some way. The goal is to minimize it as much as possible and make a lot of money. The goal is to make as much money as possible, because saving is good, but Grant Cardone said this: you can only save so much money. If you're someone that's making $4,000 a month and you're spending $3,000 a month, you're spending $2,500 a month, you're saving $1,500 a month. The chance of you doing that in America, spending that little, it's very that's hard to do. But even if you were saving $1,000, $1,500 a month, depending on what your goals are and whatnot, it's a lot to some people, but it's not a lot. I mean, in the whole grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of money. So the whole goal is to make as much money as possible, because you can make an infinite amount of money. So instead of focus on saving so much, that's important, but more importantly, focus on making as much money as possible. Because if you're someone that's saving $500, $1,000 a month or whatnot, if you increase your skills, increased your way of making money, and you started making $10,000 a month, then now you're saving $6,000, $7,000 a month. So, and that's more of a scarcity mindset in saving. Like, I've been there before. So it's like, instead of trying to save every penny, focus on just making as much money as possible. You can't go wrong either or, but when you focus on making a lot of money, that will help you out a lot. And yeah, with this video, it's like, if you're mainly just like, I don't give a fuck about the money, I don't care about anything, I just want to be healthy, I just want to don't want to put all that bullshit in my body, that's for you. This video is for you, because if that's what you want, which they say health is wealth, so then that's the main thing. That's the most important. That's important there.
And I'm gonna run some basic numbers for you guys real quick, right? I would say that a basic adult male spends about, I want to say about $400 a month on food. What do you think? What do you think that you spend a month on food?
I don't know what the basic male spends a month. I don't know.
Do you have I think I spend around between $400 and $600 a month on food. Do you have an idea of what you spend it on?
Yeah, I probably spend like $1,000.
$1,000 a month?
Yeah.
All right, so let's go with the higher number for now, right? We could do a higher number and lower number, but let's do the higher number, right? So let's say $1,000 a month times 12. That's $12,000 a month, and then let's do times 10 years, right? So times 10. We just saved $120,000, assuming you were able to achieve sustainability. So even with that coming back to you after 10 years, but the difference between a 20-year-old and a 30-year-old having that money is a lot, you know what I mean, versus not having the money at all. Because the resource extractor, the exploiter took it from you. You know what I mean? These little things, they matters over time. This plus education fees, plus gas, plus all the other BS that we're dealing with, it costs, and you got to work hard and you got to work your ass off. But let's say after 20 years, now you're 40, you know what I'm saying? So times another, boom, 240, right? So now we're hitting $250,000 that you're saving in 20 years. And that is significant because by the time that you have other things come up in life, kids, the woman, house expenses and all this stuff, having that money come back to you, you're literally going up in wealth versus giving it to the Publix or Walmart or Kroger's or wherever you're from or whatever your grocery store is every day or every month or whatever, you know what I mean? So if you were a family or a man who's able to make your own food and sustain yourself off your own food, you are fighting back against the system and achieving sustainability. I'd want you to combine that with working out, and you're doing something great when you can really live by the sustenance of your own hands. That comes from the earth, man. That literally comes from the earth. It's a part of creation. You can do that right here, right now. We just gave you the sauce, man. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. Yeah, and I say if you're someone who's focused on making, just eating the most healthiest food, which that's really the ultimate goal there, because like I said, health as well. That's the main thing. But if you're someone that's spending $300-$400 a month on food and you're making $2,000 a month, yeah, you're saving $1,600. But if you're someone that's making $10,000 a month and you spend $1,000-$1,500 on food, it's mainly, my point is make more money. Like, focus on making more money, because regardless, the person who's making $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a month that's spending more on food versus someone who's making $3,000 a month, the person that's making more money is going to end up saving more money than you simply because they're making more money. So that's one thing. But if the ultimate thing is just the health, fuck the money. It's about the health. I'm not going to sit here and preach about health and whatnot, because I order food all day. I eat food. But I need to get better with being more healthy with food. But I don't really care too much about the money aspect, because you can make as much money as possible, but it's just the health. If you're someone that's like, fuck it, I just want to feel good, I want to be healthy as possible, then that's the move.
Yeah, I mean, big facts. Like, I'm out here living the city life in Fort Lauderdale, right? I'm not living the own a home and have the backyard life right at this moment. But me and Tez, we're going to own a lot of shit in this lifetime, trust me. But at this moment, we gave you 2 ways to do it. If you're a homeowner and you got that stuff set up in your backyard ready to go, you got that. And if you have a kitchen and you got mason jars, you can hop into this. So, like, if you're doing it for the health, fantastic. So now your health and wealth is going up simultaneously at the same time, right? Your health is going up in sustainability, so you're taking care of your temple, your body, the only thing that you have on earth that can't be taken from you, unless, Epstein finds you. And then the other thing is, like, you can do it from mason jars right here we're living the studio apartment life, right? So if you have one of those, you can start doing stuff in your own. I'm sure there's a girl out there that'll lap you dudes in making that stuff happen. And then for the guys that do this, you're smart. You're making an agricultural push to achieve sustainability in your own kitchen, so you don't have to spend money on BS. So again, like I said, if you are eating bowls of those sprouts and you combine that with a couple miscellaneous items over here, and you start saving that money, right? So let's say you save that $400 to $1,000 a month, right? You easily save that money, and now you're reinvesting that money into your food source. Now you have more buying power, and now your push-ups per capita are probably worth more per rep than the guy on freaking Muscle Milk. You know what I'm saying? Or the dude who thinks, oh man, I'm out and I'm running around and I'm doing my job and I'm being a boss and I'm gonna have a date later tonight, so let me grab that $4 Muscle Milk at the gas station. He takes the L. He takes the L for spending that $4 when the $3 gives you an infinite source of lentils, where he could just take a lentil from his fridge, put it in the car, and eat that stuff on the way to the date. Boom, done. You know what I mean? So it's about strategy, resource, sustainability, and 5 stars giving you the knowledge that you might not ever have. Someone's going to find this information on a clip, watch the full video, and be like, damn, let's freaking go. And real quick, shout out to you, Johnny Boy Zorro, you know what I'm saying? Yo, I hope you tune into the stream every single time. You know, me and Tez do this for you guys. We're about to start bringing y'all boys in on the Discord soon. Just hang on there, guys. We're doing everything we can to bring you premium quality, top-notch stuff from me and Big Dog Tez coming soon. We got some cool stuff happening here in Fort Lauderdale.
Yes, sir. We out here brought you another lit live episode. Let's get it. We here.
Facts. That was it. Short, sweet, to the point. We just hit you guys with an hour and 5 minutes, but we brought the sauce, and we got more episodes planned for you that's going to be even more sweet, even more straight to the point, bringing you even more knowledge. And don't worry, I'll fix all those little weird technical audio issues that we were having in the beginning. But for you guys that were patient enough to enjoy these part of the clips halfway through the video, shout out to you, man. You got the best part of the 5-star live stream on this particular evening.
Yes, sir. We out here. Let's get it.
Gang.